Good versus evil, angels versus demons, nuns with guns and swords. Okay, I'm intrigued. The Netflix original series Warrior Nun brings us an unlikely hero who has to figure out why she was chosen. Is this YA themed show based on a comic book any good, or are you going to have to go to confession for having watched it? An orphan girl with some challenges becomes an unlikely hero, joining a secret order of warrior nuns who save the Earth or protect the Earth from invading demons. This is a really cool premise. We have a damaged main character who gets a second chance through a supernatural object. She has to learn how to use her powers and then decide if she's even up for the challenge. There's a bunch of conflict built in due to Ava, our main character, gaining the power. There are those in her order who don't necessarily feel that she deserves it or that she's the one who should have been chosen. Not only is there the internal conflict going on, but we also have a scientist who is trying to use some divine material for her own purposes. When the series starts off, there's no real context for what we're seeing. So if you are going to stick with this, you have to have some patience. They really eke out the development of some of the characters over multiple episodes. And that's really frustrating at times because we're struggling to figure out why in the world do I even care about some of these characters, because I'm given so little. I'm just thrown into a story that really hasn't even given me any background or why it's happening. And that makes it also a struggle to continue watching. I mentioned the internal conflict that they've got going on, and then there's some mystery or some just drive from the scientist that's kind of happening on the periphery that does intersect its way throughout there. There's also a little bit of Dan Brown Catholic Church conspiracy going on in this to add to even more of the conflict. It ends up working okay for the overall story, and really it became more of the crux of the entire story than I originally had thought. At the second half of the show, this really is what the focus becomes, which is also a little bit of a problem because we're introduced to some characters at the beginning of the show and they just kind of disappear. They're never thought of again, never mentioned again, and it felt a little abrupt. But also at the same time, they were kind of forgettable. And so as I was watching about midway through, I'm like, oh, where did those characters go? Oh, I don't even remember them saying anything about it. Okay, moving on. Main character Ava looks like she is a cross between Ellen Page and Alicia Vikander, which means she's very snarky, but she can kick your butt. The writing in this is pretty bad. If you don't mind cheesy and basic dialogue, and then some really awkward and obvious voiceovers from the main character we get to hear inside her head, and the dialogue in that is just immature. It's poorly executed, and it really, I guess it fits with the theme kind of the show, but it's almost insulting to us as an audience to have to listen to it. There's a lot more exposition in this too, where it just goes nowhere, that they talk to talk. And it just adds filler to the entire thing, makes it a little longer than it really needs to be. The whole show, at least season 1, is 10 episodes, and they vary anywhere from like 35 minutes to an hour-ish long. And so at least they're not sticking to an hour-long format and filling even more useless garbage into this. But there are points where it's just everything coming out of their mouths, everything that we're seeing is just, ooh, cut this, let's move on. I really did think that there would be more action in this because we have the word warrior in the title. Now, when there was action, some of it was kind of fun. Some of it really looks staged and choreographed, but at other times, it moved well. We get some martial arts fighting, we get some hand-to-hand combat, weaponry, so it is fun. It does get a little bloody and violent at times, which kind of surprised me because I didn't really think it was going to go that far, but it did, and so the action scenes really did end up becoming enjoyable. We also do get to see some battles with some otherworldly creatures, and my biggest complaint on that is that the battles are short, that they're very, very simply and easily executed. It's almost like a fight with One Punch Man, that he punches it and it's over, and really, that's it? I wanted more. I wanted big, and so I go home depressed or disappointed, just like Saitama. The special effects in this, they do a pretty good job on. There's one kind of physical demon that we get to see, and it reminds me a little bit of a Balrog, except way tinier. And the visuals really work for that. And they also work throughout the rest of the show because we get to see other special effects, other characters do different things or interact with objects, and it works, and it's convincing. It doesn't look cheesy, it doesn't look really fake or just kind of, low budget special effects. This, they actually do look like they spent a little money on. At times the pace is patient and even slow. Towards the end it does begin to pick up somewhat, and it gains a little bit of momentum, a little bit of excitement. It doesn't maintain that all the time, but at least it's kind of there. I honestly don't think that this is a binge-worthy show, at least to sit down and watch all 10 episodes in one sitting. Trust me, I did it. I know, I'm speaking from experience. I think if you space it out a little bit, you might be okay. But then I also think on the flip side of that, if you do decide to space it out to give yourself a little bit of break with that, you may forget to go back to it. And that may not be a bad idea either. And really what I'm saying is it's not groundbreaking. It's not terribly compelling either. I mean, it's an okay watch and it's mildly entertaining, but truly to kill a whole bunch of hours back to back to back, I don't know, you probably have some better things to do. I was excited as we got to the last episode because it was building in intensity. We were coming to a climax that had some mystery built in. I thought we were going to have some reveals, which we have a little bit of a reveal, and I thought we were going to get more and more. Just, it really comes to a crux, maybe a good battle or just this huge decision that a character has to make, something like that, to really drive it home and make it feel like, okay, everything that I sat through was actually worth it. And so they end on what they can call a cliffhanger, and it was anticlimactic. It just didn't deliver. That it was just blah. And even the battle, even the suspense, even the mystery, all of that as they ramp up to it, it just kind of fizzles. So I was really shocked that they managed to kill the momentum that they had and some of the urgency that they really were building by just a terrible fade to black type of ending. And it was almost like they had a couple more episodes and just said, no, we're going to end it here. There's no sex or nudity. There is a lot of profanity and a lot of violence. I give Warrior Nun 2 out of 5 couches. So what are you watching right now? Anything that you can recommend to me in the comments below? I'd love to find out. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me. I think I made it through this entire review without a nun pun. I better not make this a habit.